Hi, everybody. This is Kim Ware, and I'm hosting a live event called COM 110 in real life. By this point in the course, we have done almost all of the Learn Its. We've read almost the entire textbook, and we've done nearly all of the assignments. So now it's time to consider, what does it look like when you finish this course and you leave and you try to do it in real life? Up to this point, many of you, especially in your Yellow Dick posts, have said that you are doing parts of this in real life. You can see how it moves in between your professional life and your personal life. So I want to take just a few minutes today to go through a brief review of everything that we've covered, also show you how these things match together, and then how you move forward taking textbook knowledge into real life and embodying it for yourself. Just as an overview, we started out by defining interpersonal communication and creating a foundation for our study. Interpersonal communication is communication between how many people? That's right, it's between two people. When it's just between yourself, that's intrapersonal communication. Once we move to communication that's between three or more, we get into small group dynamics, and from there into larger group dynamics. So interpersonal communication is the communication that takes place between you and another person. Then we've looked at a broader scope, figuring out culture. Who are you and how do you fit into culture, and what is intercultural communication? Now keep in mind, there are courses that are specifically designed for intercultural communication where you can really proceed into a greater depth of what that looks like. But for the purpose of our course, we looked at being individualistic versus a collectivistic culture. So individualistic is what we are in the United States. It's focused on one person, where what you do is more important than what the group does, sort of like a in it for number one sort of mentality, whereas collectivistic cultures are more interested in the group. The person takes a step back and it's all about the good of the group. We also looked at high context and low context culture. We also looked at listening. How do we listen? What are our listening styles? What are the contexts for the different listening styles? As you're sitting there right now, maybe think about, what's my listening style? Am I action oriented? Am I people oriented? What did I figure out? What are the people around me? And what does that mean for the way that a person listens? We talked about active listening, being able to stop, look, listen, using techniques such as asking questions, paraphrasing, or summarizing what a person said to help get our message to translate back and forth correctly so that we understand what that person is saying and that that person understands what we're saying so that we're interpreting messages correctly. Fourth, we took a look at verbal and nonverbal communication. What is the impact of the way that I say something, the words that I use? How about nonverbally, my communication with my body? What's my eye contact like? Are my shoulders slumped? Are they pulled back? Am I using gestures? What do those gestures mean? So much. And then that all just funnels down into our relationships, the way that we do friendship, the way that we do organizational relationships. How do we do family? We've taken a broad look at that throughout the scope of this entire course. That's taken us down this road of interpersonal communication. With those things in mind, let's talk about these crossroads. So you've got personal and professional, and then you have sort of everything else, and they all work in tandem. Oftentimes, what we do at home, we try to sever that and take it, leave it before we go into the office, and yet it still kind of clings to us. And the same thing with professional. We have these professional relationships that sometimes become personal relationships. And then we've got everything else in between. We've got our interactions with people at the grocery store, interactions with people at doctor's office or at the gym or wherever your daily life, maybe your children's school or your school, wherever your daily life takes you. You can see how interpersonal communication is just there. It's happening all the time. And hopefully you have gathered some language throughout this course to help you understand how you communicate, why you communicate, and vice versa with other people. So what are the keys to success? Keeping all these things in mind, because we don't walk around with a textbook in our back pocket, right? We don't go and look at someone and be like, hang on a second, let me pull out my textbook for a minute and let me see. Oh yes, you are definitely task oriented in the way that you handle things. We don't do that, and communication is practice. And it's not only practice in us being stagnant and practicing where we're the same, we're changing too. So I've got 3 keys to success I want to share with you. One is to be mindful. Have you heard the idea of being quick to listen and slow to speak? That's mindfulness. Be mindful of where you are. Be mindful of with whom you're speaking. Be mindful of the context, and take your time. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got early on in my journey as an adult is to keep my mind where my body is. Our mind wants to run off into all different places, but the reality is that our mind can only be in one place, and that's wherever our body is. So if I'm sitting here talking to you, but I'm thinking about the running around that's happening upstairs, then I'm not really being mindful in this moment. So it's a practice to learn how to tune everything out and really try to be mindful where you are, what you are, how you are. And part of that is that second key is being intentional. Be intentional with your relationships. How are you spending your time? Take just a moment and think back to that very first assignment. Think about your communication style with others. Think about your assertiveness versus your responsiveness score. What were the things that you wanted to change? What ways do you want to improve? And then be intentional about that. On many of your papers, I said, this is a great plan. Now be more specific. When X happens, I will do Y. In your relationship with the person for Schultz's theory of inclusion, control, and affection, is that relationship great? Awesome. Be intentional. Improve inclusion, improve affection, your warmth. Let everyone have some power. Are you lacking in your satisfaction with that situation, with that person? Be intentional. Think about the way that we talked about conflict, different sorts of conflict management styles. How can you move towards being better at compromising, being better at collaboration, so that everyone feels like they won something? What boundaries do you need to set in your life so that you can be better at interpersonal communication? And finally, be gentle. Not everyone around you has taken this class. Not everyone has the knowledge that you now have. So I encourage you to be gentle with yourself and to be gentle with those around you. That means refraining from yelling or using all caps. That means having a spirit of inquiry, being other-oriented, considering how you are being received and how you're receiving another person. Be mindful, be intentional, and be gentle. And that's the end of the live event today. I know this has been a really quick overview, and I hope that you've enjoyed the class, and it has been a pleasure to work with you. As you continue on your journey, always feel free to contact me. I'm happy to help and talk through concepts with you. Take care.